Yeah, camera is what.
That was a really great job, just authentically getting very quiet as the music quieted out. Very nice job. All right, hello everyone. My name is Haley Bernard-Handel. I'm the coordinator for selection and leadership with the Department of Housing and Residence Life, and I'm one of the two individuals that run the RA selection process. Hello everyone, my name is Janelle Laura. I use she, her pronouns. I am the strategy coordinator of selection and leadership, so I also run the selection process. And we have 3 RAs with us today that are going to introduce themselves.
Hello everyone, my name is Daniel. I am a senior. I've been RA for 3 years, and I'm actually already at media production.
Hey y'all, my name is Cindy. I use I'm a junior at UCF. This is my 3rd year being an RA, and I'm an RA in the language community. And my major is digital media with a focus in web design.
Hey guys, I'm Lillian. I'm an RA with Nike Community. I've been an RA since January of 2023, and I'm a double major, so I've been majoring in biomedical sciences and history.
Now let's go ahead and get started. So for this presentation, we're just going to briefly, like what you saw in the info session, I'm hoping all of you saw it already. Yeah, you should. So we're just going to briefly run through that information, and then this is mainly a time for you all to ask us any questions that you might have. The application is due. When is it due?
October.
Yes, it's due October 1st. So you do have less than about a few days to turn that in. So please make sure if you have any questions to ask them now. We're also going to stay a little bit past 7 to answer any questions that you might have. So yeah.
All right, so what does the time commitment look like for an RA? You're looking at approximately 15 to 20 hours a week. And we say approximately very, very specifically because there are going to be some weeks that you work on the very, very low end of that spectrum. So maybe 15, maybe closer to even like 10. Because you're going to have your like 2-hour staff meeting, maybe a one-on-one with your supervisor, but other than that, you have like tests that week, so you can't do a lot of your RA responsibilities. But then there's going to be other weeks, such as, move-in, where we need you to work, Thursday through Sunday, and then a little more extra on that. So we say approximately because your time commitment in the RA role does range throughout the semester and throughout the year. The great thing is, We pay you on a stipend, so you get paid the same amount every 2 weeks, regardless of how many hours you work, because we know that there will be some weeks that you definitely work more than 20 hours, i.e. move in. And then there's gonna be some weeks that you you gotta take a step back. You gotta work on your tests, you gotta study, you gotta work on some maybe other RSO items, things that you want to focus on, so you're not able to work your full 15, 20 hours. And we know that, and so we want to make sure, one, you have a consistent paycheck, and two, that you're living up to the responsibilities and requirements of an RA. We know that those hours are going to flex to meet those expectations. Duty, we are staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. That does not mean that you need to be staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You will work with your community as a whole to make sure that all of these days throughout the year are staffed with someone on call, whether that is a community coverage where you're just responding just to your community, or sometimes over holidays we have consolidated duty where you may be working the community you're in and the community next door. You're going to be working move in and move out. That's mandatory. And then you have your weekly staff meetings, one-on-ones with your supervisor, spring, summer, and fall training, interactions with your residents, which obviously should be happening often. And then time spent away from your community should not be greater than the time spent within your community. You want to make sure that you're fostering that community, meeting people. And if you're never around, they've never met you, never know your name, what's the point of you being an RA? You know what I'm saying? And then outside work must be approved by your supervisor and can only go up to 15 additional hours of work a week outside of the RA role. The way we ask you all to put priorities into your life is, one, you are a person first, so you need to take care of you. Two, you're a student next, so you need to take care of your classes. Three, you're an RA and you're building community. And four is anything else after that. We really only care about those top threes. We care about you, your development, and your RSOs, and anything you do outside, but we really care about those first three. You know what I'm saying? I do want to mention that you all have Post-it notes and a pen and a little flyer on your papers, on your chairs. The Post-it notes and pens is for as we go through this. If you want to start writing some questions down, you're welcome to do so. For those who are streaming and joining us live streamed on Facebook or YouTube, you can start adding comments whenever you would like questions into the comments, and we'll get to answering those.
So the RA application is open now until Sunday, October 1st, 11:59 p.m. Make sure that is Eastern time. So if you go away to Pensacola and you're in another time zone, it's not that time zone, it is Eastern. Oh. You can find the application at ucf.life.com. I'm hoping and assuming that you have all seen the application already. Yeah, so that's awesome. Look at y'all already doing all the things. You can view the info session on the housing website. Again, we already spoke about this. Please make sure that you watch that, because one of the questions in the application is regarding the info session that you watched. So make sure you get that done ASAP. This is also an online application, so you do have 2 references that you need to have submitted. I will say the earlier you submit that application and those references, the better. If you submit it at 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, October 1st, your reference will only have until Monday to submit theirs. So that is a 24-hour turnaround. How many of you have professors that take more than 24 hours to respond to your emails? So if you ask a professor that takes more than 24 hours, unfortunately, we are not going to be flexible with that. So please make sure that you're asking them today, the latest, tomorrow, the latest, to get those references turned in for you, all right? It shouldn't take them very long if they're asking questions and are like, what's going to be on it? You all won't know the full details of what's on it, but I will say it is not a very long process, and they should be able to get it done in 15 minutes max, maybe. And then the application questions, there's going to be 5 personality-based questions, which are 5 short answers, and you're going to be putting your job preferences. So that's going to be where within the UCF residence halls you're going to be wanting to be placed. Again, we've mentioned this before. Just because you put something as your priority or as your preference doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to get that preference. So what we mean by that is Carrie could have chosen Rosen as her preference. Oh, Rosen's a bad example. I'm sorry. Carrie could have chosen Neptune as her preference because she really loves Neptune and just did her 1st and 2nd year in Neptune, but right now she's in Nike, And she's in Nike because that coordinator saw her application and saw her interview and said she would really fit the culture, really change my community, and I want her in my community. So please be mindful of being flexible with that as well. So yeah. And then you can edit your application up until it is finished and you're ready to submit. And again, please remember that your references are not going to get a notification until after you submit. So if you submit it, I'm going to say this again, if you submit it at 11:59 p.m. on October 1st, that is when they're going to get the notification that you want them to submit a reference for you. And that is a very short turnaround. So please, the sooner the better, okay?
For those personality questions, I just want to add that we aren't grading those. Those are just to make sure that we have a well-rounded staff. So if we have a staff, one of the questions on there, right, that you all probably know because you've definitely already opened the application is, would you rather work now, play later, or play now, work later, right? That's not a trick. We're not looking for everyone who says work now, play later because you're going to be the best RA ever and only work and never have personal time or do anything that you actually enjoy to do. Which you're going to love the RA job. So that's something you don't want to do. But what we're looking is to make sure that we don't have a staff that's all play now, work later, because then we're not going to get anything done. And we don't want a staff that's all work now, play later, because then we're never going to have some fun. And we love to have fun in the RE job. So know that none of those personality questions are a wrong answer. This is not a trick question. It is just to help us get to know you a little bit more. And so that when it comes to actually making those final selections on where people will be placed, we can make sure we have a well-rounded staff that matches the amazing diversity that we have at UCF. All right, so what will interviews look like? Interviews will be conducted in person on main campus and on Rosen. If offered, you'll be invited to interview October 17th. That is when you will be receiving a notification. So you will not hear anything from us until October 17th. And when I say October 17th, I mean by the end of the day. So here's what I'm saying. If you are emailing me at 9 a.m., 10:30, 12, 2:30, 5, 6:30, like I'm still just trying to get through everything and send the emails out. And so the more time it takes for me to respond to the emails saying, hi, I'm just wondering, it is 2 a.m. on October 17th, and I was seeing if I could get the email on if that's going to take me so long to respond to that. That's just going to make it even longer until I actually send the notification out. So I promise you will hear something by the very end of the day on October 17th. And then you will have until October 22nd at 11:59 to go on to ucf.ereslife.com and select your interview time. You will have the autonomy to select any time that's available. Here's the thing. The second that the email goes out, that link to sign up for interviews is live. So the first people that click it and log on get first choice. If you are waiting until October 2nd until 10 p.m., there may be only like 2 or 3 options left for your interview, and that's all I'm going to have left, right? Because this is going to be based off of our staff's availability. Main campus, we're going to have interviews Tuesday, October 31st to Thursday, November 2nd. And I'll give a little spoiler here. We've had so many applications and so many amazing applications already that we have actually added an interview day. This has not been publicly released yet. So boom, 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 boom. So we are going to also add Saturday, November 4th to our interview days. So that's going to be on main campus as well. And then we'll have Rosen interviews on Friday, November 3rd. Interviews will be scheduled for 60 minutes, starting at 9 a.m. and ending at 7 p.m. So throughout that entire range of time, there will be 60-minute increments. And the interviews will consist of 2 professional staff with a candidate. So it would look like me and Janelle sitting on one side of the table and you sitting on the other side of the table and just having a cute little chat. And then we encourage you to dress in UCF spirit or business casual. As you can see by our lovely 3 RAs up here, it is not necessary to wear a suit to the job. So we don't expect you to wear a suit to the interview. But if you're like me, I like to feel confident, a little fancy. So I love a power suit moment, you know, that is what's going to have me walking into an interview feeling like I got it because I'm in my power suit and I am powerful. But if you're like, you know, if I'm in this power suit, I'm like, you know, all
scrunched up and, everything is kind of tight and you're like just fidgeting with it the whole time and you're not actually able to like pay attention to the interviewer when you'd be way more comfortable in jeans and a UCF t-shirt, that's totally fine too. We don't care. If you think it's appropriate to wear to an interview, listen, if you think it's appropriate to wear to an interview, we're cool with it. You know what I'm saying? Great. All right, so we have a very select few vacancies that are going to arise for spring 2024, and this is going to be positions that start in January. And I say a very select few. These are for our few RAs that we have on staff already that are, one, graduating early, or two, are studying abroad in the spring, and so they're having to end their RA contract early, or three, maybe they've got an amazing new job opportunity, they've got the Disney internship program, something amazing that conflicts too much with the RA position, or something that's more than 15 hours, a week. And so unfortunately, they're going to have to say so long to the RA position for their professional development. We love it. We love growth, but we have these couple vacancies that start in January. For those individuals that we pick to fill those very few vacancies, I'm like talking 10 maybe, we are going to send offer letters by November 17th. Your acceptance is due November 20th, and you will be in the HR process from November 27th to December 8th. Spring training will be the first week of January 2024, so you need to be able to come back to campus starting January 2nd. That's when our offices open back up. I know it's so early. That's just how it has to be sometimes. And for the vast majority of our candidates and our applicants, they're looking at a summer 2024 start date. Now, some of you may be like, whoa, Haley, I don't want to start in May. I want to start in August. That's when all the RAs start. False. We have a year-long contract, May to May, okay? We are a year-long because we are a community and an institution that is open year-long. And so when we offer you the position, it's a full year. However, not all of our communities are open year-long. We have some communities that are, some communities that are not, and some communities that are open just for summer B. So if you are selected for a summer 2024 start date and you get that offer, which will include your fall community placement, we will also send a preference form, a preference form where you can say whether or not you're interested in working summer. It's not a guarantee because we have to hire everybody to start in summer of May 2024. But some we can potentially exempt, and we do preferences on those, such as studying abroad, such as needing a medical procedure, or if you're doing an internship out of state, we try to do those things that can't be worked with first, and then we go from there. So some of y'all may start in May, some of y'all may start in August. Either one's okay. Just don't bank on starting in August. It's a request form, not a I'm not going to be here form. Okay, great. And so for those dates, the candidate waiting area update will happen on December 5th. That email is basically like a doctor's appointment, right? You've scheduled your appointment ahead of time. You showed up on time. You've checked in, but you're going to sit in the waiting room. That email is the waiting room. You've done everything right. You've gone through the interview. You're awesome. You've checked all of our background stuff. Your grades are good. Conduct's good. You're solid. You're just going to sit in that waiting room until you hear from us on February 12th. And this letter will either be a, hello, yes, we'd like to hire you. We love you. You're great. Or two, you are still super great and super awesome. We still love you, but we don't have a spot for you right now. And so we want to put you in our alternate pool. Here's some additional information. And then finally is, maybe the RA position isn't for you at this time. You should try again next year because that's not uncommon. And then our HR process is from March 1st to April 10th. And our summer training is May 8th through May 12th. If you work summer, that week-long training is 100% mandatory. No ifs, ands, or buts. 100% mandatory. So I, block that off now. No cruises during that time, unless Haley and Janelle are invited. Then we can talk, okay? Let me know. This is basically exactly what she just went over. It's just like in graphic picture, beautiful form. If you want to take a picture of it, you're more than welcome to. It's just pretty diagram. We love diagrams.
Sorry it's so hot in here. We went to the thermostat. It does say it is 62 in here. I know we all know that that is a lie. That's a Florida if I've ever seen one. So I do want to apologize. We attempted to fix it, but it's what it is. I see some of y'all. Me too. Me too.
All right, so that's it from us. We're gonna go ahead and turn it over to you all. If you have any questions, what you're gonna do is raise your hand for me, and then I'm gonna run the mic to you to make sure everyone can hear your question. And either the RAs will answer it or Haley and I will answer it. Sound good? Awesome. Remember, you can find the application at ucf.ereslife.com, and let's get this thing rolling. Questions? I see my friend right there.
Hi, I'm talking to those who are streaming online. At any point, you can put a comment on YouTube or Facebook, and I'm happy to relay that question to our panelists.
I got my first question. So
I already submitted my application, but I kind of was thinking more about also applying for the spring position. Is there anywhere I can go in and edit my application, or no?
So my friend here already submitted her application, and she's wondering if she can go back in and change anything. Unfortunately, you cannot go back in and change it.
However,
Yeah.
if you email Res Life Selection for little things like that, not rewriting your whole questions after October 1st, little things like that, we're happy to go in and change it all. It is, yeah, there you go. Res Life Selection at ucf.edu. Sorry, I didn't think of that.
And for asking a question, my friend is going to get a merch item.
So I just had a question. It was asking for a university GPA, and I don't have one yet because I'm a freshman, so we'll check.
So if you don't have a GPA yet, because this is your first semester here at UCF, what you're going to do is go ahead and put a 0.00. And by the time we get to the back end of doing grade and conduct checks, you'll already have a GPA by then. And we will be the ones to look at that and see what your GPA is and make sure that you're meeting the requirement. If you already have a GPA, you can put it, but if you don't, that's all right. You can put the 0.00.
We pull all your GPAs anyway, so don't worry about
We do it anyway, so don't lie either.
I have a question if you want to ask that, like a Facebook question. Okay, so we have a Facebook question. I know she already spoke about this, but I wanted confirmation. So essentially, is there opportunity for being an RA this upcoming spring, or if chosen, will the first starting semester be fall of next year? So there is an opportunity, a very select number of individuals to start in spring of 24, and if not, the other main start date is summer of 2024, and then you can apply to be exempt. You can request to be exempt to start in the fall. Great question, thank you.
This is a question for one of the RAs. You said you're a senior and this is your third year, approximating that you applied as a freshman.
Correct, yeah.
So, like, as a freshman, like, what were your qualifications? Like, I feel like it's a little harder, I don't know.
Yeah, so the way it worked, when I was a freshman, I reached out to my RA, and they were able to give me a recommendation for the position. Seeing that I was involved in the community, I went to the events, and I was just like very involved. So I asked for the recommendation, and I applied. That was kind of like the requirement for it, as well as being in good standing as well. Yep.
Stunning. Oh my gosh. Sorry guys, I don't know if you're blind now, but it looks way better.
So, yes, I just had a quick question about the RA contracting agreements. Once your year-long contract ends, are you given the option to renew your contract for another year? Yes? No?
Why don't you talk about the process?
Yeah, so this is my third year being an RA. So every year around December, or depending on when you get hired, but for me, I got hired for fall. So in December, you'll go through an evaluation process with your supervisor, and basically going through what you did well, like kind of like just a general evaluation of you as an RA. And then through that, there's a supplementary not application, but kind of just like a self-evaluation on how you felt that you did in the role within that year. And then you'll meet with your supervisor, talk through that, and then you'll it's like another I don't know how to explain it.
It's a small application with
Yeah.
very few questions that then attaches to your eval you do with your supervisor.
But yes, you can renew your contract.
And it doesn't look like this process. It's not a massive interview process or anything like that.
So I'm currently in Towers, so I have a year-long agreement that ends in August. So how would that work? Like, would I be starting this summer? Yeah.
So if you become an RA and you currently have a contract, like my friend here that's in Towers, housing, we go ahead and cancel that agreement without any charges because you're now going to become an employee of the university and you're going to be moving to an RA room, either by yourself or with another person, but we can get into more details if anybody has any questions on that. But yes, you would get your contracts canceled and then you would go ahead and move and start becoming an RA. Do I have roommates? Oh, I'm not an RA, I'm actually a graduate coordinator. Oh, yeah, I got you. Some RAs do, so we have Rosen Community, there is 2 RAs that share a space, 1 RA that shares a space with their resident. And then in Lake Clear, we actually have RAs that share common spaces with 3 other residents. But the majority of our communities, you have your own individual space, with a bathroom, kitchenette. I think only Northview has the 2 RAs that share a space. But for the most part, most of our communities have individual spaces. I believe Towers has individual spaces.
Yeah.
Sorry, we have a tower coordinator in the house. Whoa.
Could you tell me, sorry if you already answered any of these questions earlier, can you tell me a little bit about this whole professionalism and role modeling thing?
Can you clarify professionalism and role modeling? Yes, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, so basically that's just being professional in how you like conduct yourself. So showing up on time to duty, being there for the residents, making sure you're engaging with your community, and just being a role model for the community. And part of the role is being in good standing with the university, and that's showing that at all times, like you're kind of wearing both hats. You're a student, but you're also an RA, a role model for your community. So you want to be in good standing as well.
I'll also say, when it comes to that kind of thing, when I go around campus, some people do recognize me as being an RA. So, with that, and also, social media, if your social media is on public and you are posting things like, oh, I'm going tailgating, I'm, doing all this, people can see that. So just being mindful of that as well.
So I know in the Nike community, you get booted out during my break. If you're an RA, do you stay during?
That was such a good way to say that. I'm hurt.
So for RA, for Nike at least, since we're not an annual community, we do close on December 10th, I think. So I think for us, we do consolidated duty in that time. So those who can work will work, and we consolidate with Hercules and Neptune. I have only worked in Nike, so I don't really know how consolidated works in other communities. But for that time period, that is when residents are not there, we do still staff the offices, not the offices, but we still staff the communities with duty. But we don't. It's not 6 people for all those communities at once.
So you can stay, but if you're not working duty, you do not have to stay. Is the TLDR.
And sometimes, I know last year, the marching knights stayed because of the bowl game. So, RAs will still be there to help with lockouts and anything they need.
I was gonna ask if during winter, if I'm a RA Rosen, would there be a chance that I would be made to stay, or they would get everyone first and then whoever's there at Rosen would get that duty first.
There are 8 RAs at Rosen, and there will always be 2 people on duty. How you all end up making your duty schedule for every single break is up to the coordinator and the staff. Not often do people absolutely have to stay on like a holiday or something that they celebrate, but it sometimes happens, or sometimes you can like split the day. So if you're wanting to be home on maybe Christmas Day, but Christmas Eve isn't as important to you, or vice versa. For an example, you might work the night of Christmas Eve and get to go home at 8 a.m. or it would actually be 4:45, but you would get to split the day. So you could work like one of those days, same with like Hanukkah or Kwanzaa. If you want to be home on like XYZ day, maybe you can talk to your community or the rest of your staff about saying like, these are the days that are really important to me to be home. Those are the days that it's really important for you to be home, and you fill the schedule like that.
Yeah, I think something to note, like it's just really important to communicate with your staff, like what you need and what you are prioritizing. And like if anything comes up, just like communicating that like as is, so we can find coverage for that day, or whenever you need that coverage.
You're not alone in your role, so there's always going to be somebody there if you need a break for like an hour to go do something, or you have a doctor's appointment and you're working, somebody will be there to help you. So we work as a team, so you'll never be alone.
So going back to the GPA question, when I filled it, and I submitted the RA, when I filled it out, I asked the RA and they told me to use my high school GPA. Should I be emailing that email to get that changed?
No, it just doesn't matter. Anyway, we ask it because it helps us filter out very quickly when we want to see everyone on one site, your GPA, more so later. So it's good that you have it. It's good that you answered it. Whether it's a 0 or your high school GPA, we're going to pull it right from the registrar anyway, before we send offers. It's like a good buffer for us.
I just had a question. I'm just gonna take a guess and say that you guys funnel down applicants because of the references and the interview process. So I just had a question about any tips, like 3 areas about the interview process in specific.
Yeah, so for your interview process, like they explained earlier, it's gonna be 2 coordinators, 2 pro staff in front of you. So the day of your interview, you really want to obviously present yourself in a professional manner, but using like common sense, basically. It comes down to common sense. They're gonna ask you some questions, like scenario wise, and you just want to use your common sense and just be honest about your past experience. It always helps if you have served in some type of role, like dealing with people, customer service. I was a lifeguard before this, and that kind of helped, being in that role and dealing with people. So if you have those previous experiences, don't be shy to like funnel that out or to show that, because they love that. They love to see experience previously.
I'll say my interview was on Zoom when I got hired, or when I went through the interview process. But I think just being confident in what you've done and what you have in leadership skills and styles, and just it's okay to talk about yourself and what you've done and what you've accomplished. They want to hear that. So just being confident in that, I think really helped me in my interview process. I know Career Services does like interview prep as well. So if you want to do that, I highly recommend it. And yeah, just kind of having like those scenarios in your back pocket of like just general like interview questions that you will hear, I think will be helpful as well.
Also, just be yourself, because that's a time for the interviewers to get to know you. You really get to show who you are, what your passions are, and that could really take who you are as an RA further than you expect.
We also print out the questions we also print out the interview questions and have them taped onto the table that you're interviewing at. And it is a-okay to ask for a quick second just to reread the question and make sure you answer it fully. We have no idea how many people get a little stressed out in the interview, and so they just like rush through a question, and it's a multifaceted question. Like, tell me about a time you did this. What did you learn from it? And they don't say, what do you learn from it? That's half the question. You've missed the half the question. And that's why we print it out and put it right in front of you, because we're not trying to be slick. We're not trying to catch you on anything. We have the questions right in front of you because we want to hear your actual answers.
Hi, my name is Lauren. I have a few questions. I guess I'll start. Sorry. Just in like your personal opinions, do you think that being an RA is doable if you have another job?
Yes. Go ahead, Carrie. So I currently work at the RWC for the marketing team. Go follow our Instagram. I work at the RWC. I'm also the president of an RSO and also serve on the regional board, and I'm also an RA. So I maximize my 15 hours outside of my role. It's definitely doable. I have worked at the RWC for, I think it's going into my second year. So I've been there for a while. I think it's just being able to prioritize your different tasks is really important. So obviously for like move-in week or like training week, like my time is in Nike.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like this week, I haven't really had much going on. Next week we have like a bunch of deadlines coming up. So just kind of prioritizing where my time goes as far as that goes. I am lucky that my job on the marketing team is very lenient when it comes to my time and what hours I come in, but I know some jobs aren't. So just being transparent with those jobs, like I have to be, at like on duty at 4:45, and that's like a hard deadline. I have to be like, that's my day that I have to work. Just being transparent with them, and that you are an RA. But for the most part, if you have an on-campus job, I think they're understanding and flexible when it comes to that. Yeah, that's my experience.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I just wanted to know that it was possible. The other question I had was, how does the housing, like where you get stationed or where you get put to live, like how does that work?
Yeah, so the day of your interview, they're gonna ask you a preference list. I believe it's 3 that they ask. 3.
Middle campus, Towers, Northview, and Rosen. 5.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, there's 5 different communities, and then they're gonna ask what preference you would like. And then at that point, you'll just get decided. But it was like they said, based off your personality and just the interview, coordinators will be like, hey, this person would be a great fit for my community, and then they'll bring you in. But yeah, definitely just based off just personalities and just the culture of different communities, you'll be able to move into a community.
Also, like I had Northview as my first pick, and I'm in Nike, and I absolutely love Nike. I didn't realize like how much I was gonna love Nike. I was a little nervous going in, just because I had friends there, and I was worried how that was gonna work because I was a first year RA and first year at the university. So it worked out better than I thought. I love it there. I hope to stay in Nike for
Don't look at me.
for my entire time as an RA. So where you might not get your first pick, but just trust the path.
That's the process. I was pulled from the alternate list. So I got placed in Nike and I started in the middle of the semester. So just like Lillian said, trust the process. They chose you for a reason. And I think I fit the staff perfectly. So being able to kind of just come in and, feel like a second family is really nice.
I also wanted to say too, if you aren't chosen for the first round, it's not on you, it's okay. I know plenty of RAs, my coworkers that I work with, that they're like, hey, I tried this my freshman year and they weren't able to get in. next year they tried it again and they got it. It's not a personal thing, so don't take any like no harm, no foul. It's just sometimes the opportunity just isn't there, but there is always opportunity within the following time.
Some of our very best RAs are from the alternate pool or have had to apply more than once. And it really has nothing to do, and I know everyone says that it's not for you. It has nothing to do with you. It just has to do with being able to fit you on the team at that time. Maybe your specific personality and what you bring to the team is not necessary in that moment. But oh my goodness, when that time comes, you're gonna shine. You're going to shine.
Also be mindful if you get a community that you don't want and you, let's say you really don't want to move to Nike, if you decline that community, you're declining the RA position as a whole. So you will basically be removed from consideration and you will have to reapply the next year. So if you're really wanting to be an RA and you don't care what community it is, you just want to make an impact, you want to make a change in a community, even if it's not your first choice, I still recommend that you, like the RA said, pick that, say yes to that community, because either way, I know that everyone sitting in front of me is a leader in some capacity and is going to have a great experience in that RA role, wherever it may be.
When you reapply, you can also put your preference in the reapply application. So when you are selected as an RA, you've been put in a community, you want to return, you can put in that re-app that you want to move communities or put a preference on a different community that you want to. And we have a little more wiggle room with returners to move things around sometimes.
The only other question I was going to ask was about like how scheduling works, but I'm guessing that once you get the job, that's something you figure out.
Yeah, it's based on community.
Okay.
Sorry, I have two more questions. So like on average, like what percentage of the applicants?
There is no way for me to ever know because I won't know how many people finish their application by Sunday because I know y'all, I know you're in college, I know the number that's completed right now, and I know that that won't be the same on Sunday. I know people in here haven't even submitted it yet, right? And that's okay. There's no weighted scale to if you submitted it July 2nd versus, did you all submit July 2nd? There's no weighted scale if you submitted on July 2nd, the second day the app was open, versus 10 o'clock on October 1st, other than if your reference doesn't actually submit it, then that's not working. But July 1st, October 1st every year. We sure did. Yes, there's no way for me to know, and I don't know how many returners would be applying to return. So I really find out the day we pick our race. Truly, truly.
Also, you guys as like people that are in charge of the application the selection process. When you read responses, do you like, is there any specific thing that you see, like, would you rather that you see like personality or like, I guess, experience they have?
Read the instructions fully. The instructions of your application. Read them fully, then read them again, and then read the application question fully and read it 2 more times. If you can do that, you're gonna be all right. Because you wouldn't believe how many people miss certain pieces of very clear instruction, who don't answer multifaceted questions. I don't remember the record at this point, but that's how many people are gonna miss questions. Read the instructions fully and read the questions fully, and that will answer your question.
So I know one of us mentioned having like a leasing agreement. In their case, it was with Towers, which is at UCF. But I was wondering for someone who has a leasing agreement outside of UCF, so like one of the ones near, that's personally where I am living right now. And the agreement ends on July. So I was like wondering, like, if I were potentially a candidate, like how that would work.
So if you live off campus currently and you have a lease that's ending past the May 1st date that you would be starting as an RA, the only 2 contracts that we can somewhat help you with are at the Point and at Night Circle. Those are the only 2 that we can help you with. Outside of that, it is your responsibility to go and see if the leasing office will be flexible with you and allow you to break your lease. Sometimes they're pretty flexible, but I don't want to speak and say that every single nearby community is going to be like, oh, you're an RA? Woohoo! Awesome. So that's really on you to have that conversation and like advocate for yourself and say, I'm starting a position, loved it here, I'll write a whole review. I don't know, whatever you want to do to try and work that out. But just to be clear, the only two off-campus leases that we can help you with, they're the Point and Night Circle.
And some locations have just if you have like proof of a new job that requires campus living. Sometimes they'll be a little wiggle roomy. So if you need that letter from me, I'm happy to write it. But again, we can't require any off-campus leasing groups to break your lease. We can work with the Point and Night Circle. We have a lovely relationship with them where they kind of help us out. We try to help them out as much as possible. It's not ever fully a guarantee, but they've been amazing partners with us through their RA process and our RA process. And then outside of that, we can't do it all.
Hello, my name's Elijah. I just got a few more questions for you. First of all, so I know the rent for people who live in these dorms are different for each dorm. Is the wage that we're paid the same no matter what dorm we're in?
No. So it changes based off community. I don't know exactly like the price breakdown, but based off the community, the stipend is different. Yes, and that's based off like factors, different factors within housing.
Math is hard. So let's pretend that. First one of you, who is it? Don't. Which one? The green hoodie? Okay, you're gonna be next. Okay, so math is hard. So let's pretend that on-campus housing, or let's pretend the RA stipend as a whole is $10. I promise you, we pay you more than $10. But math is hard. $10, okay? Let's say that living in Nike costs $3 for your full year. Just $3. So nice. We're so awesome. And let's say at Northview, it costs $5. They have like a little beach, volleyball moment. They've got a pool. They got a little tiki hut on the roof. They got some luxury living over at Northview. So it costs a couple extra dollars, two more, to live over at Northview, right? If our stipend, I'm holding the mic, so it's kind of hard. If our stipend is only $10 for RAs, for Carrie and Nike, she pays $3. That $7 that remains is what we divide out to make her biweekly stipend throughout the academic year. For Daniel at Northview, he has his $10, but it costs $5 to live in Northview. So we have $5 left to divide out the rest of the year. Does that kind of make sense? So if you live in a more expensive residence hall, you get paid a little bit less because you have more amenities as part of where you live. So everyone gets the same $10, but their housing comes out of that $10 first. And then what's left is what you get paid bi-weekly. It's just not $10.
So I have a couple questions. I know we have like a set amount of hours you work a week. Sometimes you go under, sometimes you go over, under. How much are we paid? And I'm sorry, I know I see all that number, but how much are we paid?
Yes, we have that 10. That's hard because that amount that you're paid is different for every single community. So the application has an attachment on it that has last year's biweekly stipend per grouping of community. Now, our housing rates have gone up a little bit since then, and the minimum wage has gone up a little bit since then. So we are currently at this exact moment on September 28th at 5:50 p.m. paying slightly more than what is on the attachment in the RA agreement that is attached to the application. Now that is from this year. That is not a guarantee on exactly what you're going to be paid next year.
but it's gonna be a good ballpark for you to kind of get an idea, because we don't even know what we're gonna charge in housing until next year. We're waiting for the minimum wage to jump. I think either it's about to or just in, is about to, I think October 15th, the minimum wage goes up $1, something like that. Anyway, we gotta wait to figure out all those numbers to figure out how far that $10 is gonna get you. You know what I'm saying? But the attachment shows you what they were paid last year. Know that this year they're paid a little bit more, and we will let you know if you're hired what you're looking at. But you can get a gauge based on what's included in the RA agreement on what biweekly stipend is, like 170 to 250 biweekly.
It's on page 10.
Thank you. Page 10, for everyone looking, page 10. It is highlighted for your convenience. I was so smart for doing that last year. Oh, yeah, honestly, yeah. Okay, is this helpful to everyone? Thank you so much. All right, Apollo, Hercules, Neptune, and Nike is $221.65 biweekly. Lake Claire and Libra is $212.84 biweekly. Northview is $155.94 biweekly. Rosen is $218.01 biweekly, and Towers is $161.69 biweekly. Thank you so much. And again, that was last year. We're a little bit higher this year. See you next year. Hope that helps answer your question a little bit more. I'd love to be able to give just an X amount of money, but we got a big university, don't we, Dr. McDonald? Bye, Dr. McDonald. Thank you so much. That's our associate vice president, everyone. Read it.
Yeah, I have 2 questions for you guys. So can you explain the schedule from the 4:45 to 4:45 schedule for the weekend?
Yeah, so for a weekend duty, it is 24 hours. So say what is today? Thursday? Say I work Friday, tomorrow, September 29th. I would come into the office with my duty partner. Saying me and Lillian are together on duty. We're coming into the Nike office at 4:45. We get a little rundown from our office support assistant, our OSA, who works there full time. What happens during the day, if there's anything that we need to know. We decide how we want to split up the phone for that day and when we want to conduct our nightly rounds. Say we decide to do rounds at 8 p.m. We will go walk our community at 8 p.m. And then probably hand off the phone because that's just easier. And then we'll do another another round of the community during the daytime on Saturday. So we'll do a round on Saturday, and then we'll hand off the phone at 4:45 to the next people who are on duty.
So is it every weekend or is it every other
It depends on the community. But when you're there, you don't have to sit in the office 24 hours. You can be in your room. I know I like to do homework during that time or spend time out in my common room with my residents during that time. So it really just depends on how you want to spend the time, but you have to be in the community during your duty. So it's not really that hard. I would say, yeah. I mean, I have friends that are a little jealous because they're like, when are you working? And I'm like, I'm working now. While I'm talking to you. And they're sitting at a job off campus on set hours and they can't do their homework, but I am. So I really enjoy the flexibility that we have here, that we can sit in our room on our couches watching TV while doing our job.
And then added to that, you asked for the weekends. It's not gonna be every single weekend. It's a set amount of weekends. So there'll be weekends when you have it off, you're completely free, and then there'll be weekends where you are working.
You might have like a weekend duty shift like 2 or 3 times a month. Again, it depends on your community size. If you have a larger community, you're gonna be working maybe a little bit less. If you have a smaller community, there's not as many people to cover that duty shift, you know? And when we say a weekend duty, we only mean one day, one 24-hour rotation. So Friday at 4:45 to Saturday at 4:45 is one. Saturday at 4:45 to Sunday at 4:45 is a second weekend duty shift. So you're really only looking at working 2 or 3 24-hour periods a weekend. Stephen, would you say that's accurate? Or a month, not a week.
For my community, it's maybe 2 a month.
Yeah, perfect.
And that's like 2. It's not very good. That's not really 5 hours, but like double duty.
Yeah,
They
I
just do
think
the
so.
whole weekend, they get out. So
I know. Carrie travels for her position on the board, and so oftentimes Carrie will choose to like, if she's gonna do 4 duty shifts in the entire, well, let's do like a bigger number, like 6 duty shifts in a semester. Let's say in September, she works the first full weekend, she takes a week off and she works the second full weekend. So by this day, she's like done with duty for the whole semester. And you get to schedule that however you want. If you'd rather spread it all out and just do one Friday every 3 or 4 weeks and do it all throughout the semester, that's fine too. As long as you're completing things work.
And then also just clarifying, your weekday is just a set day. So if you know you're working Tuesdays.
Sometimes. Nike doesn't do it like that.
If you already asked a question, please be mindful that there are other people in the room, so let's try to keep it to one per person if we can. And the RAs are probably not gonna stay later, so if you have a more like day-to-day activity kind of question, that might be a good time to do it, because Haley and I are the only ones that are gonna be here a little bit past 6.
Hello. Okay. My name is Chan. I go to the University of Central Florida. And I have a question for the RAs, or just in general. We've talked a lot about like everything surrounding an RA. But I kind of want to know what do you all feel makes a great RA or qualifies you to be like a really good RA? And I know that we have like you're like you start freshman year.
Yeah.
So we have like starting from freshman, and we have some seniority in the RAs here. So I just kind of wanted to see like what makes a good RA. Like for me, I think the impact was as to why I wanted to apply was my RA kind of inspired me to like get out of my dorm and do stuff. So I was like, and I got to talk to my RA. So I was like, you're pretty cool. You're a pretty cool RA. And she's like, oh, you should be an RA. I'm just like, yes, so. So obviously that's why I'm here now. So I just want to hear like what your story is on why what.
Because we're lucky enough to have a coordinator in the room. After the RA's answers, Stephen, would you mind to also add on to? So Stephen's a coordinator in Tower 4, so he would be one of the individuals in the room when it actually comes time to select the RAs for the staff. Janelle and I run the full like logistical process and all the background stuff. But Stephen is going to be one of those people who are actually making the selection. So I'd love to hear, Stephen, from you. What is an amazing RA after they answer, if that's okay? Cool, thanks. Go ahead.
Hi, you said your name was Chad? Hello?
It is.
Okay, perfect. So, Chad, I basically had the same exact experience as you. So when I was a freshman, I got in here, I'm a first year in college, so first generation here. And I didn't really know too many people here. And my RA really opened the door for me to get into clubs, RSOs that we have on campus, meet other new people who I still talk to this day. So just seeing that, how she opened the door for me, it really wanted me to be in that position to help others. So what I would say makes a good RA is someone that can better their residents and help them help themselves. Because there's so many opportunities here in the UCF. It's just a little overwhelming sometimes. It's just such a big university that we kind of have like hold those resources and open it up for other residents. So being personable, being able to help others through like personal experiences, and then just having that knowledge to be able to help, I would say makes a good RA.
For me, I was in the Residence Hall Association on the executive board before I became an RA. So kind of being able to help residents around like all of UCF through programming and being able to interact with students was really important to me. So I applied to be an RA. So when it comes to being an RA, I think the best like quality, I guess, for me is just being like open. This role is very flexible, and what makes like being an RA so like special. I've been an RA, this is my 3rd year being an RA, and every floor that I've had has been completely different. Some years there'll be like really involved and really engaging, and some years you'll have to try a little bit harder to try to get that engagement from them. So being able to like kind of go through those hurdles and like find a good place with your residents, I think is really important when it comes to being an RA.
So I'm originally from Tennessee, so I'm out of state. I have a friend who she was an RA at the University of Tennessee, and I got to hear some of her. I got to hear some of her stories on how she created the community and her resident hall, just how she had so much fun. And I wanted to do that here. Also, during Hurricane Ian, my mom sat me down and told me I was doing the application. I was not waiting any longer. So that also played a big part in it. But I really, I think what makes a great RA is somebody who wants to create the community on their floor, because that community is going to make the lifelong friends, the memories. It's going to make staying in a dorm worth it. Sorry, residence hall. It's going to make it fun. It's not going to be, oh, I'm just coming back here at night to just sleep. It's more of a, I want to come back. I want to spend time on my floor. I want to do this with other people here. I want to spend time with my RA. That's what makes a good RA, is creating that community so people have fun.
Add into, sorry, just one last point. Add into Lillian's point, so you guys see the impact that we can make as an RA. I was at Red Lobster the other day, going off, and I was with a couple friends, and we had just overheard this couple talking, and just we like had some jokes back and forth. And then I asked, "Hey, how did you guys meet?" And they said that they went to school at UCF, and that their RA actually, during a community event that their RA hosted, they met through the community event. So that way you guys can see that like real relationships form at a community event. As an RA, you can like make that impact. That RA changed their lives. That's a big
Friendships too.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Relationships, friendships.
Before Stephen answers, I want to acknowledge that it's 6:02 and we said we would end. Janella and I are going to be staying to make sure you all get your questions answered, but we don't want to make anyone feel like they have to stay or if they have class day. We're going to be like taking names on people who leave or who stays the longest or anything like that. Don't worry about it. If you have questions that you really want answered, make sure to take down that email that's up there. And email us those questions because we still do really want to answer them if you've got to go. But again, Stephen, you're about to hear from a coordinator who selects RA, what he thinks is the greatest thing about RAs ever, and then Janelle and I will stay and answer some more questions as well.
Maybe this. Hello. So I think for me, the biggest thing, and this is the point that we're talking about, is really wanting to build community. I also have to look at it through a specific lens because which has a lot of athletes, and athletes have a very strict schedule. So it's very hard to get them to come to community events. That doesn't mean that, you know, we work with them. And I think that's one of the biggest things is that I have to look for people who are willing to like talk to the residents, because even though the athletes don't attend stuff, my RAs will hang out in the lobby, be watching TV, and as athletes come back from like practice, or like maybe they had a football game and the football players are coming back and it's 11 p.m. on a Saturday, they are there talking to the football players, being like, hey, we saw your game, most of the time they go, because we all start close to the game, and talking to them and really building those relationships. And so for me, when I'm reviewing really the hundreds of applications, it is about what are you answering in those experiences. I will say that this position is very trainable. So even if you're coming in with like little experience or a lot of experience, we will train you how to do the job. It's really about what are you bringing that can help us connect with residents as well. So sometimes I have hired people who like have worked with student athletes because they were academic instructors with the athletes. I know they know the struggles of working with athletes, but I've also hired people who are just, nerds and can do that stuff, because that's also super important, right? Because yes, I have athletes, I also have 500 residents, and my goal is how do I build a team that can hopefully connect with all 500? And that means, yes. So looking at personalities, who is on my staff already, and then figure out where are those gaps and where are those areas that I need, and then reviewing the applications and trying to figure out where those wonderful people are. It is very extensive. So like Haley and Janelle said, if you don't get hired like right off the bat, it is not because you're an awful person. It is because we are always looking for the areas that we need for our staffs. And that just may mean it's not you at that time. Yeah.
Thank you, Stephen. Woo! Stephen really just took time out of his own day just to come and hang out with me and Janelle. All right, so we can keep answering questions. I'm gonna stand up and maybe we can like take turns on each side kind of thing. So who has, okay. We'll just be fluffy on the sides. So where do you want to start? Let me start right here. Okay, is that okay with everybody? Does anybody, I should ask you like this, does anyone need to leave like soon? Okay, let's start in the back right there. I just want to make sure, everyone gets their questions in there. Oh, nice t-shirt. Look at that. Here.
So actually, 2 quick questions. One, for the communities that don't traditionally have a kitchen, the dorm, do the RAs have a kitchen in their room?
So every RA will have a kitchen in their room unless you are an RA on the first floor of Apollo. That is half of the Apollo RAs do not have a kitchen in room. Everybody else has a kitchen. Yes. Other than half of the first floor of Apollo. Half of the RAs in Apollo, those who live on the first floor.
The second one was, so I'm in the honors college, so I'm supposed to RA for Tower 3, but I don't know if I saw Tower 3 application. Do you guys select for RAs for Tower 3?
Yeah, it's gonna be in a larger group, just all of towers are all together, so you wouldn't specifically pick Tower 3, but when asked, why are you interested in this community or anything, you're welcome to put, I'd love to work with the honors group on the honors floor in Tower 3. You're welcome. All right. Another girl, I can get another one if you're, okay. Okay, cool.
I want to ask in regards to the Monday deadline for the reference letters. Do we send them by email that day?
So when you submit your application, it will automatically submit it to them. So you have that supporting documents page on your application where you put their name and their email. When you click submit on the final page of your application, we submit the form to them automatically. You don't have to do anything except remind them several times.
I would also make sure that the email is correct that you're putting into ResLife. Yeah, that is what we're sending it to, so if it just goes out into space.
If you have someone in the school group, like a teacher in Broward County, Broward County, Broward's in South Florida. Yeah, that's where it is. Yes, Broward. Their emails decline ours. Their email system just absolutely kicks the heck out of our whole site. I don't know why. So if you have someone and they haven't submitted it, reach out to them, check it, or maybe get a backup email from them just in case. I don't know what it is about Broward County School District. They hate our software program and they just absolutely yeet it. We don't know. We don't get any like undeliverable notices. We never know. But we just found out just trial and error. Yeah, you're right.
So my reference is actually from the school, and I need to change the email because I believe it's not going through. I was wondering if I could change that.
Definitely. So any last minute kind of changes like that you all need, you can just email Selection, Janelle and I, even though we only work, generally, I do our best since, this is kind of a high time in our jobs. We're going to be looking at the email over the weekend as much as possible and trying to answer as many as we can. But as you saw, we had a lot of people in here just today, and I can promise you that this is not the max amount of applications that we're going to have.
So you might have to be a little patient with us, but we are going to be monitoring this email like nobody's business over the next 4 days, because we kind of assume that you all will need last minute changes. So just email us and let us know what you need changed.
Thank you. Okay, I have two questions. I hope they're pretty straightforward, but, well, the first one is like, when will we know if we're like denied? Like what day?
Either December 5th. So instead of that candidate waiting area email that I told you about, that's kind of like sitting in a waiting room at a doctor's appointment, you might get the, hey, we ran your GPA and your conduct check. Unfortunately, this time you don't qualify for the role. We're gonna let you go. We'll see you next year. Or on, what is that, February 12th is when you would also get a second notification. That's gonna be more like we've had a time to review all the interviews and our notes and our scores and everything like that. And so that February 12th day will more so be the alternate, maybe next time email in terms of coming out from the interview. The only reason you'd be notified on the 5th is if you didn't qualify for the position moving forward in terms of like more logistical things.
Okay, and then do returning RAs get like first pay? Like, yeah.
Kind of. They have to do the whole returning process, and that doesn't necessarily mean they get picked. When we host our RA selection day, we do both returning and new at the same time. We do returning first, so that we can like have a break in our day because it's an all-day affair. But we do it on the same day, and not everyone is brought back every time at once.
Hi, I'm Gabby. So this might have been a question probably better for like the RAs here, but in terms of like community planning and coming up with like events and stuff like that, I just wanted to like know a bit like more into the nitty gritty, like in terms of like graphics and design and how like those ideas are like fully brought out, because I like have an interest in that mostly. So I was wondering if any of y'all like have some sort of experience, like okay, this is how you go.
So our RAs are super, very awesomely creative. They will get the idea, they'll make the Canva, they'll, whatever. But, not all of them are going to be that right-sided brain, right side that's creative and left side is water. I don't know, whatever it is. Not every single one of them is that side. So we offer our RAs, it's so hard to say our RAs to partner and collaborate with each other. So maybe you have someone who's definitely more left side brain, super logistical, super like, here's our deadlines, here's when I must send my purchase list, here's my print dates, and I'm going to post on these dates and whatever. Then you have someone who's right side brain. I think it's switch. But then you have someone who's like way more creative. They're coming up with maybe the theme of the event. They're creating the flyer. They're doing whatever. So again, we love everybody to be RAs. We can fit every type of personality as an RA. Yes, your floor is your responsibility if you are the only one on the floor. Some floors are split in two.
This probably isn't as much a question for y'all as it is like the general housing department. I understand for like returning students, it's harder to get on-campus housing. How does that work with the RA position when you apply for on-campus housing versus?
Yeah, the RA rooms are set aside. So no one can be placed in an RA room. They aren't part of the lottery. They're not viewable by anybody. We have our own RA rooms and they're totally offline. In terms of wanting to apply the lottery and things, you can still apply. If you get the lottery spot and you pick a room, but then you get selected to be an RA, we'll just cancel your lottery spot. And that just means someone else from on campus can move on campus. That's really cute.
So if I sign a contract with, say, United Circle as a backup in case I don't get the RA position, is it guaranteed that my contract will be canceled?
Gotta ask the hard questions. Okay. How do I put this delicately? I've been here 5 years. I've never not been able to cancel a contract with United Circle. There is nothing that requires United Circle to allow you to move when I tell them to cancel it. I've been here 5 years. And I've had a whole lot of people work be at Night Circle who we hire and move on campus. And I canceled all their contracts with no problem. I got their main email. I got to go to Girly, which is my bestie, as long as she's still there. However, there is no contract that is like specifically signed that says I absolutely will cancel their contract if they're an RA. It's just like a mutual bestie shaking hands agreement that we have with Night Circle. So can I guarantee it and be like 100% absolutely without a doubt, and then you sign your lease and then you sue me for the cost of your lease when you try and break it? No. Have I been here 5 years and have canceled every single Night Circle lease or point lease from an RA that we've hired? Yes. Does that help? Thank you. You're welcome.
I know that you guys can't guarantee like a certain spot or anything. Do you typically most likely get the #1 spot, or like what's like also the community has taken like first, like fills up very quickly and is applied to?
I think people have different preferences. Some people want to be paid more and don't care where they live as much. Some people want the life of luxury that is Northview and don't really care how much they bring home in their pocket. So I would say in terms of what fills first is pretty even. I would say if you get like the possibility of you getting your #1, #2, #3 is probably more likely. #1, #2, #3 kind of area. What I will say is if you don't pick Rosen, because that's the satellite campus, we will not consider you for Rosen. So don't pick it if we're not willing to go there and live there. It's not a bad thing. It's not like we grade you any differently. We're just not going to consider you for Rosen, but if you're not going to work there anyway, don't pick it anyway. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing where we don't consider it. But if you pick anywhere on main campus, at the end of the day, we're going to consider you for anywhere on main campus. But we do heavily take your preference into consideration. We take your preference into consideration. The coordinators then look at it, and if there's someone that's like 100%, I have to have them on my team, like I need that exact person to just fit my puzzle piece, then their preference is going to trump yours. But if your preference matches the coordinator's preference, we will take your preference. Does that make sense? So if it works, it works.
Hello, my name is Cody. Sorry, I'm stuck here right now. But I was one, so I know getting roommate or getting residents to like do roommate agreements is its own little piece in and of itself. But I was wondering how exactly an RA goes about facilitating that interaction, like adhering to their agreements. And
Now we have a beautiful thing called the Community Living Guide. Who's read the beautiful Community Living Guide? Jack, you are lying. You're telling me you've read all 83 pages? Okay, never mind. The minute you said Zoe, I agree. Okay. I'm gonna call Zoe. Anyone has thoughts on the Community Living Guide, you're welcome to share them. Not with me, but you know. I will do that. Okay, we should both. Oh, yes. Okay, so in terms of, okay, so you have this roommate agreement, right? You both agree that you're going to keep the temperature to 70 degrees, okay? Whatever you agree to, and that your roommate's significant other is only going to sleep over on the weekends because you want some separation and some, I don't know, girl time if it's you and your girlies. And then 2 weeks later, that's not happening, right? You're going to come together again with your RA and you're going to redo a roommate agreement so that you guys find somewhere that you can agree on. Say your roommate's like, nah, boyfriend's staying over every single night. Well, one, that's not allowed, or girlfriend, whoever. One, that's not allowed. There's a 7-night maximum based on the Community Living Guide, which is helpful for us to be able to enforce these type of things, you know? You see that we don't have a check-in desk or anything. If we're hearing that this is a consistent problem, we have a Community Living Guide policy to be able to back this up and kind of put some restraints on these agreements. And if you met with your RA 2 or 3 times, you guys still can't come to an agreement, you'll then have kind of be escalated. You'll meet with either a graduate coordinator of your community, a coordinator of your community. If it's still not working out, you'll meet with the assistant director. Like, we work this thing up and you're never alone. So we will have support for you as an RA. No matter what. And I think that's definitely the main point right now.
All right, I saw that there's fall, spring, and summer training as well as the HR training. So like, what's the difference between those? And is the HR training every year? And are the fall, spring, and summer trainings every year?
So the fall, spring, and summer trainings are every year. It's like when you start the year, you're basically like sitting down with every RA in every community, and everybody's gonna come together for that whatever amount of time and just talk about all the things that involve RA position. For the HR training, I think
It's not an HR training, it's the HR process. You only do it once to be hired. It's just when you meet with HR to show your like driver's license, social security card, just making sure, yeah, that you have all the documentation to work with us. And if you are an international student and don't have a social security card, we have a process for that as well. So that doesn't, just immediately count you out as not being considered.
Yes, I have a question about your, or about the kind of the overnight, call. I kind of had a confusion with that. 'Cause I know, typical RAs like. I wonder how that works, for like, I'm an engineering student, so I learn, how much time I need to study, how much time, so.
So some communities, you're on duty once a week, like every single Tuesday is gonna be your 4:45 to 8 a.m. on duty on a weeknight, not a weekend. We've already covered the weekends, but on a weeknight. And then some communities have a big enough community that maybe you're every other week or every 2 weeks or something like that. There's gonna be a range of experiences that you have on nights you're on call throughout the semester between 4:45 p.m. and 8 a.m. I think it's really important to be very honest with our candidates because it's not always flowers and daisies. When you're dealing with college students that are going through a whole lot during their 4 years. So sometimes those calls at 2, 3, 4 a.m. are gonna be a lockout. You're gonna have to get out of bed, walk to the office, get your keys, go to their room, no, those keys are worth millions of dollars. So if anything happens to them, they'll get you millions of dollars. They don't not wake up. I'll get there in a minute. So then there's some nights that like, you're gonna get that 2, 3 a.m. call and maybe there's a room a little too rowdy. Maybe they have some things in that room that they shouldn't. You know what I'm saying? The night process looks very different than your lockout, where you go right back to sleep. That is now a whole policy violation. You've got illegal, maybe alcohol, maybe they're under 21, you maybe got substances, whatever. We have a whole policy for that, and we have an entire on-call structure where if you are one of 2 RAs in on call, because you never ever respond alone, you will always respond with a second RA. You then have a graduate coordinator on call. You then have a coordinator on call. You then have an assistant director on call. And then you have a director on call. And then the AVP, Dr. McDonald, who's in here, he is always on call. And so